Yeah, I can't wait to get there. I'm a nerd. I like books. Hello, key holders. Welcome back to another episode of Our Life Beginning and Always. My name is Brogar DM, and as always, we are doing this. We're back to top 250. Another episode. Woohoo! Summer work and escapade are next on the list, if they're not too long. I'm recording this right after the previous episodes. I have checked to make sure there's no issues with the audio, though, in the previous episodes, so that they'll sound fine. So yeah, let's just go to summer work and escapade. We'll see how long they are. Then we'll go to soiree, responsible, lemonade, another soiree, siblings, and boardwalk afterwards. Perfect. Summer work. Let's go. Actually, let me save first. No, I don't want to overwrite a save. Okay, summer work. Let me get back into the moment of truth, the moment my blood boils, baby. You stared out the window, watching the scenery pass by, as your mom drove down the quiet streets at a leisurely pace. A singer crooned sweetly from the radio, turned low enough that you could block it out if you wanted. You turned away from the window when your mom suddenly spoke up. Well, kids, are you excited to be going to the library? Yeah, I can't wait to get there. I'm a nerd. I like books. Mom laughed, catching your eye in the rearview mirror and winking. I don't know why I asked. I already know how you feel about it. Taking a trip down to the library had always been something you enjoyed.
So,
What about you, Cove?
not really.
You're about to... Not really. I missed that. I'll shorten it so you guys can read it. Not really. If I didn't have school stuff to do, I would probably be somewhere
I
else.
see.
I get it. I wasn't so keen on the library either in my day. Really? Well, no, unless you count under 6 years old as my day. She grinned over at the two of you briefly. Mom refocused on driving, humming along the radio under her breath. You went back to staring outside. As you passed one street, you caught a glimpse of someone in brightly colored clothing passing out balloon animals. It sparked a faraway memory, and you felt your lips twitching up before consciously remembering why. How long ago was it that you and Cove watched the amazing Alexander performing magic tricks? Hey, Cove, you remember that one guy?
Maybe.
Maybe I do. Alexander, the amazing Alexander. He gave us dolphin balloons for free? This reminder, Cove smiled faintly. Oh, yeah. I wonder if he's ever there now. Maybe we should go more often to check. Maybe. That was the first time we ever went down that street together, I think. I missed my balloon. He was a good dolphin for the one afternoon I had him. Yeah. Hey, Cove, what were you going to name your balloon? You never told me. Oh, I don't know. I can't remember what kid me was thinking. Probably something obvious, like Flipper. You couldn't help the way your own smile curled up higher at the sentiment. You wanted to say something else, but couldn't quite think of what, and so just settled back into your seat. When silence filled the car again, you returned your attention to the window. It was an absolutely gorgeous day. You leaned your face to the sunshine, tempted to close your eyes as the gentle rays warmed your cheeks. Aura? Huh? You lifted yourself up a bit more, seeing your mom twisting her torso to face you, confused from the front seat of the car. Next to you was nothing. Cove's car door was already open. You had reached the destination before you even realized it. I was asking what time I should pick you two up. Oh, 4 should be okay. That should give you enough time to finish your summer assignments, or at least make a large enough dent. Thanks, Mom. You hopped out of the car, remembering to grab your backpack at the last second. All right then, have fun, you two. We will. You closed the door, giving a little wave, He waved back. The two of you went right to the door of the library. Cove reached it first and tugged it open, stepping inside. He kept it propped open so you could pass through behind him. The air was much cooler inside the building than it had been for the few seconds you spent outdoors. The space was filled with a soft din of papers being moved and whispered voices. Sorry, I was looking for my mouse. I put it in a weird spot. Hey, you seem distracted on the ride here. Just enjoying the day. Cove looked dubious at the vague answer. Okay. What? Don't you think it's nice out? I do. Your study buddy was standing at the front of the library by a long rack of magazines. Predictably, he was flipping through one with various sports players on the cover, looking intense enough to burst off the page. His head snapped up when you walked over, beaming widely. Hey, Aura. Hey, Cove. Hi. Were you waiting for a while? Not super long. Derek put the magazine back in its place, then he gestured to the space at his side. Most of the tables were empty, only a few people leafing through the books. There's plenty of room. In an unspoken agreement, the three of you started moving towards the seating area, Derek taking 2 steps for every one of Cove's. Oh, guess what? I'm pretty sure I've mastered the fake shot. I'll show you some other time. Derek looked over to gauge the level of interest. Do you know it? Soccer's not really for me. Of all the sporty stuff Cove liked, was beach-related surfing, snorkeling, bodyboarding, and he didn't play a lot of team games, but he did like doubles volleyball. How does it go? Derek's eyes flashed with excitement as he explained.
Okay.
Well, you move the ball like you're going to go one way, then he demonstrated by running a few steps ahead, showing off some fancy footwork. You do it like this, so it does it like that. You laughed, bobbing your head at his attempt to get the trick across with no ball. The three of you looked over to the checkout desk. The librarian stood behind it and was wearing a deep frown. You were apologetic. He mouthed, sorry, and she sighed before turning back to the book she was reading. Derek scratched his cheek, choosing not to let that derail things.
Oops.
So, what are you guys working on? There were some things you had gotten started with. But it was still early in the summer, so there was a lot left. I've got some math problems that need work. The atmosphere was good for studying, and you felt motivated to tackle them. There's some summer reading too. I have to go through an assigned book, but I'm gonna do that later since it doesn't need extra references or anything. What about you two? I've got a few worksheets. They look pretty easy, but my school gave us 3 books to read. Can't they just stick with one? I'm doing a timeline for, history. You all found a table close to the tall bookshelves and set up a camp. Within seconds, pencils and folders and books were strewn out on the surface. You focused on your work. You were pretty confident you could get it done before your mom was set to return. You checked the requirements on the homework sheet your teacher had given you, then opened up your textbook to the pages needed. Okay, so I'm a big fan of self-study. Like, when I was in school, I would always finish my homework before I even left the school, usually. During my lunch, I'd just work on it and, and then before I left the school, even because I walked home a lot, I do it there as well. Even now, I'm teaching myself Japanese and I've taught myself how to edit. I feel like learning things is very important and I've always enjoyed it. So I feel like, and also I kind of put a bit of that version of myself into Aura. So I kind of feel like that's something she would do, is be able to kind of just focus on the task. You know, she might have a bit of ADHD, but that's just because I have a bit of ADHD. And by a bit, I mean a lot. then opened up your textbook to pages you needed. After some time, Cove shifted in his seat, twisting his back as if trying to work knots out of it. Feeling antsy? You paid enough attention to Cove to recognize when he was no longer feeling comfortable. Yeah, I'm gonna wander around for a bit.
Talk to you later.
See ya. I'm gonna stay here. I'm making good progress. I'm gonna go with him. I'll come with you. You might as well take the opportunity to refresh yourself before getting back to work. Here's the thing. Derek has his own events. I'm gonna keep going with Cove. The two of you strolled away from where you'd been working. Your eyes roamed over the titles of books as you passed. Some were dull, some intriguing, and others were just strange, but you didn't spot anything that made you pause and pick it up. Looking for something? Always. No, but something might catch my eye. I think that's a better answer. You never know. I might go out of here. If there's enough time. His comment reminded you of the clock ticking away. Even after you'd finished your work for the summer, the countdown to the new school year would still be on track. Before you know it, we'll be back at class. Yeah, we just got out. It's almost here again. Are you looking forward to going back? Cove rubbed his arm, drawing your attention to the scar he'd earned as a reckless kid with his far-off gaze. Not really. I don't want summer to end. I wish everything wasn't always decided for me. I want to grow up already. My friend, that doesn't fix anything, kid. That really doesn't fix anything. Even when you grow up, you still have work. All you have is you have some play money if you're lucky. And life still is gonna try kicking you in the nards every now and again, my friend. But you just gotta keep pushing through. But I get the anxiety to grow up. We see our parents and we think that even though they work, we think that it's not as bad. In my personal opinion, I think work's a lot worse than school. But, you know, that's just my personal opinion. I want to grow up already. Cove didn't feel safe knowing it was others who really determined what his life was like. You understood that much. You touched him softly. Instinctively, you reached out to him. Your thumb stroked the back of his hand in a way you hoped was comforting. But there's a chance we could end up in the same classes. That would be nice. You nodded, glad that he was cheering up some. Trust Cove to look on the bright side. I'd like that. A smile spread across his face, crinkling his eyes. What about you? Do you want to go back to school? I like summer, but I'm ready to go back to school when I've got to. It's interesting. There's more going on then. There was really no getting away from the topic of school right now. It prompted you to think back to the classes you were in. You pursed your lips. What do I think Aura is interested? I think... Okay, this is a good thing. Because Aura is a creative. She likes to write. She likes to read. I think that English would be a subject she enjoyed. You liked the books we had to read in English class. The writing assignments were engaging too. I think science class was fascinating, and I think art class. I don't think she'd be a big history or math person. I love math. Personally, math class was one of my favorites, but I think that for Aura, these would be more interesting. It wasn't mandatory at your school, but you definitely hope to participate. And science class. You hope there'd be more cool experiments coming this coming semester. That was all. Each lost in your own thought, you continued to stroll through the library for a little while longer, until Cove caught your attention again. We should probably head back. Yeah, let's go. Before you could take a step back, Cove cleared his throat, avoiding your gaze. Thanks for listening before. Anytime. Cove smiled, his cheeks pink. You jerked your head towards where Derek had been left studying. Time to get back to work. Cove and you rejoined with Derek and settled back in as quietly as you could manage. Work continued as normal from there. The sound of shuffling dragged you out of your head. You looked up, surprised to see Derek packing up. You're done? Derek casually shrugged, but you could tell he felt proud to be the first finished. Uh-huh. I told you it wasn't anything hard. What are you going to do now? You wondered how Derek was going to spend his newfound freedom.
Maybe.
I could look over what you're doing. Maybe I've got some tips that'll help. You nodded your head yes. Why not?
I gotcha.
I gotcha. With a smile, Derek leaned over your part of the table. He took some time to get the gist and point you in the right direction before turning it back over to you. Derek leaned on the back of his feet. Okay, I'm gonna look around while you guys finish. See ya. Bye.
Bye.
See ya. Later on, Cove shifted in his seat, closing his book as he looked over the notes he'd been taking. Glancing away, you contemplated what you had done thus far, too. You had finished everything. I have already established that school comes easy to Aura. For now. Just as you thought, it hadn't been that difficult. You wrapped it up already. Derek's advice made it easier in the end. Are you about ready? It's almost 4. Yeah, I think so. Come on. The both of you gathered up your books, and after returning the ones you'd used for reference to the proper shelves, set off to find wherever Derek had wandered off to. He was in the biography section. His back was to the two of you, one hand above his head and the other supporting himself against the shelf as he strained to grab one of the books. Hey Derek, we're ready.
Okay.
Oh, okay. He glanced towards the sound of your voice, then up towards the shelf he was trying to reach. That was a struggle you knew all too well. Do you need help with that? Derek frowned, eyes flicking to Cove just for a second before shifting to look at the 4. Yeah, thanks, man. Which one? Derek directed Cove towards the book he wanted. It was an autobiography of someone you'd never heard before. Huh. And then the three of you moved to the front of the library to wait for your rides. You stood close to the window and let out a content sigh, feeling the rays warm you from the slightly chilly library interior. Got any plans after this? Gonna work on my technique. Can't get rusty while school's out. That answer was inevitable. Technique for what? Soccer. How about you two? The words you two echoed in your mind. You knew what Derek meant by what. But why was it bringing a smile to your face to be linked with Cove, even in the most tenuous circumstances? Nothing planned. Me neither. Oh, that's my dad's car. Derek lifted a hand to wave, pushing the door open and heading towards the blue pickup truck waiting in the parking lot.
Talk to you later.
See you, Aura. Bye, Cove. You watched Derek jog off before scanning the area for your mom. Did you get everything done? I don't think Aura's one to get lost in her own thoughts anymore. Did you get everything done? Sort of. I saw you're done. He smiled, impressed. You felt pretty good about that. I feel like I'll need to come back to the library again before summer's over. Even if your assigned work was done, you might have to double-check some things or do preparation for the start of the year. I'll come with you. I still have those books to read anyway. You smiled at the idea. Despite not working on the same thing, it'd be nice to have some company. I'm good with that. Hey, do you want to do something with me after this? Oh, Cove said sure. Oh, hey, do you want to do something with me after this? Oh, sure. Cove seemed eager towards the offer. You hadn't exactly expected him to say no, but the agreement still made you happy. The two of you smiled at each other. Cove looked away after a second, and so you did too, fidgeting with the hem of your shirt. It wasn't long before you spied your mom's car coming down the road. There she is.
All right.
Time to go then. You climbed into the car, sliding it into your usual seats and buckling the belts. Hey kiddos, did you get a lot done? I'm done.
Nice.
Amazing. The car shifted into action, and you watched as the library shrunk into the distance. It wouldn't be the last time you saw it this summer. Even better, you were going to have good company with you. You were already counting down the days. You fielded questions from Mom while you tried to juggle a conversation with Cove. While she learned you two were planning on returning, she immediately offered to give you a ride next time. You continued to answer Mom's questions about what you'd been working on, then told her about your plans to stick with Cove after getting back. There was something knowing in her smile that made you pause just for a moment. Yeah, I know you know I have a crush on him. You're not blind. But soon enough, the trip was over. You had arrived back to your neighborhood. Cove had run over to his house real quick to drop off his stuff. You also made a pit stop to put your backpack away before heading out again. The two of you regrouped in the middle of the road, halfway between your houses. With everything wrapped up, you could now freely enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Your conversation resumed as you both began walking down the street together. The afternoon came and went. Dinner was eaten, and you were cleaning up the dishes left behind from it. Cove had elected to stay for the meal today. He passed you a couple of plates to rinse in the sink. Even though he didn't have to, Cove asked to do at least something to help. You scrubbed the last of them and let out a satisfied sigh. Okay, they're done. I'm going upstairs now. You addressed your guest for the evening. Are you gonna come with me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have to go back till later. Take it easy, kids. Thank you for the help. When you got back to your room, you noticed your backpack from earlier. You figured it would be best to unpack the stuff you needed before going to your bed. Cove plopped into your desk chair, and it spun around a bit as he got comfortable. He watched you contentedly as you walked across the room. He didn't need or expect you to try entertaining him constantly. It was just nice to be near each other, even when nothing was going on. You hefted your bag up onto the bed and sunk into the comforter. With that, you started to sort through books and paper packets. Not all of it were things you need anytime soon. A small pile of the most important assets began to grow at the side of your backpack until you'd gone over it all. You had actually finished flipping through the contents, but that wasn't all of your work. You instinctively pulled the opening closer to you and peered inside. A second look through commenced, and then a third. Then you began to open the smaller pockets. You were missing your math assignment. Aura? By this point, Cove could tell something was wrong. You had spent the better part of the day completely finishing it, and now it was gone. It hadn't been that noteworthy before, but the bag wasn't really zipped when you had first begun to look through. The work could have fallen out somewhere if you had it in the first place. Your stress level shot up. It was gone, and now you are going to have to replace everything you did for it. My math work isn't in my backpack. At your words, Cove jumped out of his seat.
No way!
Oh crap! Is there something we can look? Somewhere we can look? The bag was kind of open, so you went sympathetically. That left a lot of options for where it might be, most of them bad. You made a sudden bolt for the other side of your room and started to scour the spot the backpack was originally left in. With nothing in sight, you expanded the search to the rest of the space. Cove did his best to stay out of your way, while keeping an eye open for your missing work. It was a frantic and ultimately fruitless effort. Your assignment wasn't here. Check downstairs. It might still be in your house someplace. Fine.
How are you?
Why, hello again. Is everything all right? You gave a rambly explanation of the situation. I like that. I checked my backpack and my math book was missing, and I don't know where it is now, and I need that or else I'm gonna have to redo it all. No, it was, I had it, I did it, but then I was getting it out, it wasn't there, and I don't know.
What?
What? Sorry, what, dear? My schoolwork is missing. This was definitely getting to you. You have things that you want to do, that you need to do, and instead you have to worry about this.
I'm so sorry.
Sweetie, I'm so sorry. What's missing? An assignment for school from the library today. Mom's eyebrows raised with concern at that answer. That's a pickle. I'll call right now. I think they might still be open. Thanks. Thanks, Mom.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Just leave it to me. Cove, honey, can you tell us if there was anything you noticed? You were with Aura, right? I saw the assignment when Aura had it out at the library. I don't remember her putting it away, but I'm pretty positive there was nothing left on the table when we were done. He spoke resolutely. Before now, he hadn't considered that something might have been left behind. You had felt the same when leaving, though it was hard not to second-guess things now. Your mom re-entered the scene a few minutes later. The look on her face was not promising.
Well,
So I got a hold of one of the librarians. They don't have any papers with your name on them. Not that they could see, anyways. I'm sorry. Oh, okay.
sweetie.
Honey, we'll figure this out. Okay. Alright. Hey, let's go over to my house. I can check my bag. Maybe I took it when we were packing up and didn't notice. It's not gonna be there. I still think it's worth trying. There was a leading tone to his quiet voice. You got the impression this wasn't just about another place to look. He was stressed over the situation here. He was trying to give you an out. Let's go. Cove nodded and made his way to the door. Your mom stood by with creased eyebrows. Take care, kids. Take care, kids. Good luck. Bye, Moms. You briskly made the trip across the street, and in less than a minute, you were going through the threshold of Cove's house. Cove had been in a rush earlier today, too. His backpack was tossed on the couch without a thought. No one had moved it since then. You can sit down, or anything. I'm gonna look. He lifted up the backpack and unzipped it in a fluid motion. You were left to wait, as he rooted around inside with an unexpected level of seriousness. There was no way you could relax right now. You leaned closer, trying to get a peek into what he was seeing. Every second of not knowing made you more tense. Your impatience didn't go unnoticed. He tore through the contents rapidly, until Cove's eyes drifted from the opening of the bag and traced the length of the room's floor. His arm was still tucked away inside, but the search was over. Your heart sank. It was obvious there wasn't much of a chance Cove somehow had it this whole time. Still, you'd wanted to hope. Finally, Cove lowered his backpack to the floor, slipping his arm out, and he wasn't empty-handed. Cove extended a few papers your way.
All right.
Here. Your eyes flicked down at the assignment, then went right back up to his face. That's your copy. In the almost silent room, you could hear the slight crinkling of paper as his fingers gripped tighter. His expression was just firm. No, it's yours. Cove, I appreciate you want to help, but that's not okay. Why not? You did the work. It isn't fair that you might not get credit for it.
I mean...
That assignment and grades, they're important to you and, they're important to me, so... He flatly dropped the papers at your feet, refusing to meet your eyes. I think you did pretty good with it. The marks shouldn't be bad. You insisted he shouldn't go through with it. Still, that's not how we should deal with this. You were teary-eyed over the gesture. Aura has the leaky eye, as we have established this. It was too much, and tear droplets began to sting your eyes. Please don't cry, Aura. Missing an assignment is something that doesn't bother me. I mean, you've known me long enough to see what does upset me. The statement had started out light-hearted, but it quickly shifted to one much more serious. You were always there. Your eyes met, and his face was full of affection. Of course I'm always there. You're my friend. You're more than that now. It made your heart pound against your chest. Then the moment was interrupted by the piercing ring of the Holden home phone. You wordlessly stared out at one another with raised eyebrows. Cove's mouth formed a tiny frown. Kira appeared from the hall on the far side of the living room, summoned by the noise.
Hey, ya.
Hey, Cove. Hey, Aura. I didn't know you were here. She strolled on past. Your eyes followed her. Cove's mom answered the call, giving a chipper greeting to whoever was on the other end. A few uh-huhs and later, and Kira thanked the person and placed the phone down once more. Ora, that was her mom. She said your stuff was in the car.
What?
Really? That's what I was told. Now I'll return to the guest room. You can have your privacy. Cove's face cycled from shock to sour as his mom made her escape, laughing. He shook the interruption off and refocused on you. They've got it. You were so embarrassed. It was just in the car? That was humiliating. You were left speechless. They've got it. Cove smiled crookedly and shrugged one shoulder. I was thinking to say it the whole time. You know it's going to be in the car, right? I didn't say it out loud because I was like, I don't want to interrupt the story. But even in my brain, I was like, it's going to be in the car. Like, the amount of times I've done that, like, and been so stressed out when I was younger, and then was just like, oh, it's just right here. Never mind. Cove smiled crookedly and shrugged one shoulder. We should probably head to your house. Your moms might want to talk to you. Yeah, my parents really care about me. They had kept searching even after you'd left, and because of that, it all worked out. Cove nodded in agreement. Cove, it means a lot that you stuck with me. Thanks. He brightened up with sparkling eyes.
Don't worry about it.
Anytime, Aura. While stepping toward the door together, there was a thought in your head that you knew to be true. You were going to be there for one another, and it came to the big things, and with the small things. That was a short one. I'm happy, though. That one was interesting. For me personally, while I'm saving, I'll talk about this. I feel like that one was an interesting one. I don't know. It wasn't my favorite. I'll put it that way. I like all the stories, and I like where the story's going, and I felt like that gave a good moment, like especially the Cove trying to give me his homework thing. I do not think Aura would have accepted that with how seriously she takes school, though. I still feel like my favorite of this one was either the dinner or family arc. The growing one wasn't too bad either. Neither was the initial one to step 2, where Aura looked at herself in the mirror and felt embarrassed, like by how she looked. I liked that as well. Let's do Escapade though. Let's go ahead and do this one, and then I'll end the episode, guys. I'll let you get back to your day. Maybe you're listening to this while doing some homework or something else, but who knows? Whatever you're doing while watching this, I just appreciate you watching it. So let's go to Escapade. You looked up, noticing the sun was finally setting. You had been trying to delay the end of the day for as long as possible. The evening breeze tickled your nose as you sat on your front porch, munching on fresh watermelon slices. You were eating it just because watermelon was a summer tradition. It was always the go-to after-dinner snack at your household during the summer months. It was a special something that didn't really happen during the rest of the year. You turned to look at Cove. You're always here, my friending. You turned to look at Cove. You both had been sitting in comfortable silence for a while now. He sat next to you, close enough for your shoulders to touch. He was happily absorbed in his thoughts and his own slice of watermelon. Chuckling, you watched as his face twisted in discomfort. He had to stop chewing to spit a seed into the bush. You did the same and spat a seed into the bush. The two of you made a little habit of periodically doing that while you had been snacking. This time he decided to make it a topic of conversation. I hate how it feels to swallow them, those hard black seeds. Yeah, I'm not gonna do that. You both went back to eating in comfortable silence, still occasionally spitting unwanted seeds into the bush. I wonder if I'll have another slice after this one. That one is your third already. Is that bad? It tastes really good. No, fuck that. You sighed affectionately You bumped him with your shoulder. Cove matched your smirk. He gave you a nudge in return. A little while later, Cove flinched, making a confused sound. I have realized that Aura's love language is is touching. And I am okay with that. He slowly put his current slice, and words of affirmation. He slowly put his current slice down on the plate next to him. Are you okay? Yeah. He stood up, head tilted back to look at the sky. His feet took him to the middle of the street. Did you notice anything? What do you mean?
Huh.
I thought I felt a raindrop. The sun's still out. You put your watermelon slice down your watermelon slice and hopped off your feet immediately. You felt a tap of water on the crown of your head, making you yelp. You're right. Cove was still staring up at the sky, and you watched as he began blinking more rapidly. When he finally turned in your direction, his face was bemused. It's a sun shower. It seemed crazy, but soon you couldn't avoid the drops that began increasing into a light shower. Booming with laughter, Cove kicked off his shoes towards his front door and reveled in the moment. You hid from the rain. You dashed back under your awning in the hopes of staying at least a little dry, but you couldn't even be mad about the shower that caught you. Cove's jovial jumping and spinning was infectious and had you grinning from a distance. You're going to look like you fell in the ocean. So what? Just as suddenly as the sprinkling started, it stopped and left you dripping with the smell of wet asphalt and soil tickling your nose. Cove caught your eyes. Running a hand through his wet hair, combing it back, he frowned. It's over. The drops of rain clinging to his face almost could have been mistaken for tears. He sounded that disappointed. Well, it was fun. Yeah, it's so cool that it happened. Oh, look, his shirt's wet. You then looked over at your door and sighed. You knew Ma wasn't going to be happy to see you trailing water into the house. Cove rubbed his arm awkwardly. He must have been thinking the same thing because he watched you sympathetically.
It's okay.
You can dry off at my house if you want. My parents won't mind. You're the sweetest guy I know. Thanks. It's not a big deal. It is. I could already hear my ma's cries over my wet footsteps being all over the halls. Yeah, it wouldn't be bad to put a dampener on the day. He chuckled at his little pun. Dampener on the day? Yes. My friending, you are just like me. I love the punnings too. Cove led you inside, and you stayed close to him. We have a ton of spare towels. I just gotta dig them out of the hall closet. Okay, that's a little forward. Thank you for doing this.
You're welcome.
No problem. It'll only be a second. Just hang out in the living room, but maybe don't sit on the couch. You answered him with a slight smile. Okay. With that, Cove disappeared and returned in no time, towels in hand. Here. Thanks. You accepted one and began to pat yourself down. A sudden call caught both of your attentions. I thought I heard voices. Cove's mom strolled in the living room with a curious grin.
Huh?
What happened here? You're both wet. There was a sun shower. Badass. Cove smiled back at his parents. God, I love Kira. I didn't like her at first, but now I really like her. We came inside to dry off. My moms don't want me going into my house when I'm wet.
Right.
So I told Aura to come back here. That was very sweet of you, baby. She ruffled Cove's wet hair and laughed at the drops of water that shook off. Then a light came to Kira's
What do you
eyes.
think?
I have an idea. Why don't we go for a drive? It has to beat standing around the house, and you'll air dry in no time. Cove only offered a shrug and bent a smile to his mom. He looked at you for a real answer. Yeah, let's do it. Fun. This'll be good. Kira pulled out her cell phone from her pocket to call your moms. They had swapped numbers early in the
See
summer.
you soon.
Head on out to the garage. I'll meet you there in just a minute.
Sorry.
Mom can be so pushy. She gets some ideas in her head, and that's what she does. That's okay. Thanks for letting me come. I didn't do anything. That wasn't true at all, but you let him get away with that. Come on. Cove led you to the car, and Kira wasn't too far behind.
Okay.
Okay, into the back, you two. Once the three of you were situated inside, Kira started it and drove out of the residential area. When she hit a main road, the car sped up and she rolled the back windows down all the way. Hey! Cove started laughing as he tried in vain to keep his hair from flying into his eyes too much. Meanwhile, you closed your eyes as the wind whipped against your wet clothes. I said this drive was going to be good for getting air dried. Yeah, but I didn't agree to this much air. Cove tried to press the window button, but nothing happened. His eyebrows furrowed in frustration.
No way.
You disabled the back? Sorry, can't hear you. Smiling deviously, Kira turned on the radio and turned it up to be heard over the wind. You danced in your seat to the music. You recognized the song immediately, mouthing along to the words and moving about to the beat, feeling refreshed. Cove shook his head at you until he cracked a half smile. Slowly he relaxed and bopped a little to the beat of the song himself. And then something struck the side of your leg. Several papers were freed from under the car seats and were blown about. Oh, they can't go out the windows. Cove began to haphazardly reach around the space to try and get it all back under wraps. You helped frantically. You jumped to his aid immediately, trying to snatch up every single paper crashing around within your reach. As much as you both caught fistfuls, there was no stopping a few that got sucked out the windows. Cove gasped. Ma, close the windows! Kira offered no response other than a chuckle. She kept driving. The both of you had sour looks at that. Got most of them. I know, thanks. The sun set completely, and at that Kira rolled up the windows. Cove let out a big sigh and released the random bits of paper he had in his wrist. My mom is crazy. He ran a hand through his windblown hair and laughed with a bit of exasperation. You felt good. The evening had really turned out to be more interesting than you expected. Grinning, you were happy with your odds with whatever else happened next. Cove watched you with interest until his focus was taken by a new comment from his mom. I bet you're not feeling damp anymore. No, but now I feel tricked. You sided with Kira. She did say she was taking us on a drive to air out, and that's what happened. Precisely, Ora. Kira continued driving. The radio volume was adjusted for the closed windows, and everyone was sitting more comfortably. Kira lowered the sound even more after pulling into a red light. She took the chance to turn around, and you caught her coy smirk.
So?
Does anyone know what we drove past during the dry cycle? I'm not sure I want to. A movie theater. Okay, most places have one somewhere. It isn't that late, you know. We can still probably catch a show.
What?
Really, Mom? We don't even know what we'll be playing.
Come on.
That's what makes it fun. Heck yeah. Both of you. He seemed hesitant. You gave him a smile, and Cove eased up a bit. Don't get me wrong. I'm not advocating impulsive behavior every day, but it's important to seize the moment when you can. We might never have another night like this. And don't worry, Ora. I said I'd watch over you for the night, not just 10 minutes or so. I'll put your parents in the loop about hitting the movies as soon as we get there.
That's,
I didn't bring any shoes. It doesn't matter. But how am I gonna go inside barefoot? We'll sneak through quick. No one will notice. You can do it. Just these once. You bounced in your seat excitedly that it was actually going to happen. Kira was right. You never got to do stuff like this. Kira drove into the theater parking lot and shut the engine off. With the unbuckling of her seatbelt, she ushered you and Cove out. Despite being hesitant to leave, once outside, Cove burst into a sprint towards the cinema. You hurried behind, but you figured the cold tarmac on his bare feet was what was fueling him on ahead. Inside, you noticed there were no lines. All the current shows had already started. Kira paid that no mind and strode up towards the counter with some words of encouragement. A third of the running time is ads these days. We haven't missed anything. That's true. Meanwhile, Cove stood next to you awkwardly. He shifted from one foot to another and constantly kept looking around. His shady behavior would have made him much more likely to get caught than standing still would have, if there were people around to really notice. It was pretty goofy. You offered him your shoes. They probably wouldn't fit someone of his size, but still, I can give you my shoes. His eyebrows rose at the offer, and his expression softened into an appeased smile. That's really nice, but I think we'd get caught for sure if we started changing shoes out in the middle of the lobby. All right. Eliciting a sigh of relief out of you, Kira returned. With the tickets in hand, she quickly herded you and Cove towards the showing room. I'm so sorry for the little hiccup. But hold on, we've almost made it home free. Once we sit down, it'll be smooth sailing. Hey! The lights were already off in the showing room, but the movie hadn't started yet. The upcoming movie trailers were still playing.
Aha!
Yes. Keeping her volume in a hushed tone, Kira couldn't help but burst with excitement over your luck. You followed her down the walkway until she spotted open seats in the middle-ish area of the theater. Kira pointed at the seats, looking over her shoulder at you and Cove and waiting for input. Cove nodded, and you decided to give her a thumbs up, and she led the way. When you reached your seats, Kira sighed contentedly. Cove gave a sigh of his own and lifted his feet to sit crossed-legged instead of keeping them down on the floor. He then leaned over and whispered to you, Do you have any idea what movie this is? No, I didn't hear the name or anything when your moms bought the tickets. Oh boy. After a couple more previews, the main event began. It dawned on you quickly that it was a horror film, one about a group of students being haunted by dangerous ghosts. You were psyched. Going in, you weren't sure what to expect, but this was a fantastic surprise. You hoped this turned out to be a good and scary. Glancing over at Cove, you noticed that he looked less than thrilled about the movie. He bit down on his bottom lip and stared at the screen with trembling eyes. Don't worry, Cove, I like horror shows and horror movies, but when I was your age, I wasn't a big fan of them either. I got into them more when I was in high school, you little middle schooler, you little sixlet. Are they sixlets or would they be seventh graders? I don't know. Cove had never been a fan of ghosts or intentionally frightening things. That was something you learned about him early on. You grabbed a hold of his hand. Your fingers wrapped tight around his, and he jumped slightly at the unexpected touch. But his expression softened when he peeked at you out of the corner of his eyes. He gave your hand a squeeze to silently voice support. It made you feel good. Sometimes the other people in the theater screamed or cheered or clapped depending on what was happening. Your heart was pounding in your chest when the movie finally came to an end. The main character resolved the hauntings, but in a dark conclusion, they didn't make it out alive. You stayed to let the credits roll and for the theater to clear out. Then it was time to head back to the car. Both you and Cove took the same seats in the back of the car again. Even though it was late, Kira was exuding an upbeat, cheerful energy. What a great flick.
I guess.
It wasn't so bad in the end. You enjoyed it, baby? No, I mean, it's hard to explain it. I got really tense, and I guess that's the point of horror stuff. But I kinda don't wanna have to feel like that. Now that it's all over, though, it was sort of cool to do.
Fantastic.
That's so great. Aura, how are you feeling? It was awesome. Kira smiled at last. I still can't believe they died. It's nice when things aren't all obvious and you don't really know how it'll end until you see it. But I wanted it to go better. I loved how it all fell apart when things seemed like they were gonna be okay. I thought it fit what they were going for. That's true. You and Cove spent the rest of the car ride absorbed in conversation about the movie. So, who's hungry? You were surprised when you realized Kira didn't drive you home, but to a drive-through burger restaurant instead. You nodded. Why not? That's the spirit. Get whatever you want. Spicy chicken sandwich, onion rings, and a milkshake. That's everything. Is that alright?
Of course.
It's A-okay. Kira pulled up to the window and ordered what you asked for first. She then decided to order one of everything on the value menu. Whoa, what are you gonna do with all that? Eat it.
Really?
The whole menu? That's alright. There are only maybe 10 things on it, and they're about $1 each. I can swing it. And besides, whatever we don't finish, I'm gonna feed to your dad. He'll be in heaven. Cove sighed affectionately at his mother's antics. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're quite welcome. A few minutes later, Kira exchanged her money for multiple bags of food, which she quickly tossed to you both in the back seats. She then drove off into the night. Can you pass me something? What should I grab? Surprise me. You chose one of the wrap sandwiches and handed it to her. You had no idea if it was a burger or something else.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Accepting that this was what was happening, Cove shrugged and started pulling food out of the bags for himself. Cove ended up with some onion rings and he happily munched on them. You made sure to grab something you liked. You selected something randomly. You weren't even questioning Kira's crazy ride anymore. The adventure continued, and you were so preoccupied in the backs that you almost didn't realize the car had stopped. Kira turned to look over her shoulder. Okay, party people. It seems we've reached the end of the road. Confused, you checked out the window and saw nothing except empty road ahead, and then you noticed it. The now leaving sign. Kira took you through the entire town. Well, what are we doing here? Kira turned the car around and parked it along the side of the road. I think you both could use a break to stretch your legs, and I doubt anyone is going to come through here this time of night. Besides, I need to make a call, so go on. She's giving us a date. Kira's giving us our first date. I think the wry smile she gave me on the trip made me think that she approved. When I talked to her, I was very kind and I wasn't rude at all, so I think she approves of me, which is really good. I like that she approves of Aura. Cove shook his head and got out of the car without a fight. You followed Cove, of course. What else would I do? Last time I was here, there was something really sad happening. Now there's something bright and happy. He got out and caught up to Cove. He was busy looking at the stars and stretching his arms while he strolled around. You thought being there was pretty cool in your mind. This was a good place to stop. If she was going to take us all around town, at least it wasn't done halfway. Cove smiled, glancing at from the stars to you. Shortly after, you noticed Cove's expression changed. His eyebrows furrowed, and it seemed like he was thinking hard about what he wanted to say
I'm
next.
so sorry.
Laura, I'm really sorry for my mom being crazy tonight. She isn't always like this, seriously. Why is she being like this now? I think she feels like she has to get out there and do things with me while she can. And she wants to make the time memorable. This visit has been really different than the others, and it didn't start off good. Thinking about how Kira's trip began this summer, you could understand why Cove was thinking all along those lines. She probably wanted all the trouble to be worth it in the end. She's giving you a taste of your own medicine? What? You always do whatever you want, no matter what anyone else is thinking. Now your mom is putting you through that. Cove took a second to mull over that assessment before cracking a smile. That's not totally wrong. It's completely right. His smile grew a bit more. It went silent between you both, so you jumped when you heard the sound of a car door closing. Cove, ora! You turned to see Kira by the driver's side waving. The sight brought a smile to Cove's face, and she quickly made her way over to where you both were standing. Thanks for waiting. I didn't mind.
My baby.
How did I end up with such a polite boy? She ruffled his hair, and Cove lowered his head, accepting the compliment. You thought about how interesting it was to see how Cove interacted with his mom. And then the memory hit you that the first summer you and Cove came to this very spot in his runaway attempt to find his way back to his mom. And now you were all here together. You whispered about it to Cove. Taking a step closer to Cove, you leaned in closer to share the moment just with him. Isn't it strange that your mom took us here? This is where you went to try senior when you moved to Sunset Bird. Cove flinched and his eyes darted over to his mom, worried that she had heard. When he was satisfied she didn't, he turned back. It's weird, but she doesn't know it happened. At least I'm pretty sure she doesn't. Really? Dad likes to tell her things are fine, so she doesn't worry. That's not my secret to share. You nodded and kept the secret. Cove looked at you gratefully, and you shared a conspiratorial smile. Anyway, it's kind of cool to be here, right on the edge of town. Exactly. We're standing on a precipice. I think so too. I knew you'd get it. It's good to appreciate these times and places. Kira let out a big breath of air. We should probably call it a night, huh? You felt disappointed it was actually over. You kind of hoped some other unexpected things would pop up to keep things going. Kira shyly smiled and gestured to the car. Quietly, you all made your way back to it. Cove naturally followed you, taking the seat nearby in the back with the collection of fast food bags still strewn about. You rested your head into the seat as the car rolled to life. As you did, Cove leaned in close to you, whispered,
Hey.
You can talk to your moms if they do get mad about tonight. For some reason, it was my mom's idea. You didn't have a choice. This was worth it, even if they get mad. Your mouth pulled into the biggest grin, getting a laugh out of Cove. If you say so. Cove smiled bashfully at you, but said nothing else. The drive home was smooth and uneventful. The radio was off completely, and you felt your eyelids getting heavy. Your head came to rest on Cove. You were too tired to keep your head up, and it felt quite comfortable there. Cove didn't have any issues there. He leaned into it. He must have been exhausted too. You were happy to stay close like that. It was warm and comfortable. When you opened your eyes, you expected to still be in the car, not your bedroom. It was somehow already morning. You couldn't remember how you ended up there. Sitting up in bed, you thought about how last night it was quite an experience. It almost felt like a dream more than a real event, but it definitely happened, and you were glad that you got to have a spontaneous escapade this summer. Alrighty, not much input from me in that one, but I think I just wanted the story. I love this game. I'm gonna say it every episode. Okay. But I am gonna end this episode quickly because this was a bit of a long one. While I'm saving, next time we will do Soiree and what's the next one? Soiree, and then we will get to moment selects for Derek and go to Responsible. But yeah, just wanted to say thank you all so much for watching this episode, and I am going to close the door on this one.